Hello, Ian.
Oh, you startled me. I was just focusing on this carburetor, and there you are. Welcome back. Man, lots happened since yesterday. Somehow the car hopped up on this table. I love this table. Thank you, Tom Taylor. I got two really good tables for my friend Tom. I chopped the top on his truck in one of the episodes on the TV show. You'll see that. But yeah, it was a race car shop. There's Willow Springs Racetrack out here in Rosamond, some miles away. And this house, apparently they built race cars in this old homestead, kind of like ours. So this table is going to scrap, as well as my big special table in the back. I'll show you that because I want to walk outside and talk about this weather event for a second. It's funny, we started this channel and it was snowing. And then yesterday was crazy hot. And today it's windy and there's fires burning. Look at the sun. You can barely even see it. It's crazy. This isn't fog. This is all smoke. So we're kind of on alert. If we see ash coming this way, we're going to have to get on our eye muffs and bring the hoses out. Look at this table I got from Tom also. 3/4 inch thick, heavy duty. Thanks, man. I'm putting this one to use. It's got great wheels on it. It's got removable crossbars underneath all the way through, so you can brace or take them out and move them. Really cool stuff. What that's going to offer for this project is just a good baseline. It's flat. I laid the floor pan on this I-beam, and then I have a wood block under the front. So what I'm going to end up doing is raising the entire engine, transmission, rear drive line 6 inches up into the body, which will lower it. Unfortunately, it's got dual carbs at the moment, so they're definitely going to be in the way. I'm working on just stripping down the mechanical stuff to get some clearance. See the fan shroud, looks like that just might make it, but I'm going to end up cutting this rear package tray support out also. So I'm just trying to keep as much together as possible at the moment, but you can see the carbs. They're definitely not going to clear if they come up 6 inches. So I just took all this stuff apart, getting the linkage disassembled. I believe there's a little spring in there I don't want to lose. It's interesting because this has DeLorto carbs, and as soon as I posted that, a bunch of people were like, "Oh, the DeLortos are no good," blah 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 blah. And I don't know much about it. All I know is I had DeLortos on a rotary engine project. Side draft, it ran awesome. Didn't need a choke. Super fast throttle response. That engine was a Bridgeport with a 5-speed Mazda transmission, and that engine, like, it tacked out. Like, that carburetor was awesome on it. So I don't know, maybe I'll rebuild these. I have a set of Webers as well. Those are pretty much the two popular choices for this arrangement. So all I'm doing is getting stuff out of the way. Just going to cut these fuel lines. The fun thing about VW engines, especially with this carburetor setup, is getting to the bolts that hold them on way down inside, down where the manifold meets the head. On a single carbed car, it's interesting enough to get in there, but with the dual carb, kind of gets things a little bit more tight down in there. Let's see. Yeah, I can't see a thing. Is it a 10? Is it 11? Is it 12? Let me get some other ratchets.
Are you going to make the long ratchet thingy that's real long?
I could if it thrills you. Want me to start stacking?
Yes.
We got one. We got a wobble extension.
That's so funny.
I'm going to grab a couple of ratchets. I'm going to grab the 12 and the 11 and the 13. And just because the missus asked for it, we're going for the mega extension. because, hey, we got all afternoon. Let's mess around.
Oh,
Really
there
allows
it
you to
is.
get a grip on that 12 millimeter bolt down in there. Is it 12? Let's find out. No, it's 13. Ooh, the engraving on these is really small. So that was 11.
Has it gotten
Or
smaller?
is it my eyesight? Well, looks like 11 to me. What's this one? 12 millimeter. You know why we don't have a 10 millimeter socket?
Why?
Car guys know. You don't know, do you?
No.
10 millimeters always missing. That's why we don't have it. That's the joke. Look at that. We're just going to crank that baby right out of there. It's off. I'm going to explore this side. Imagine trying to get this bolt out when there's a sheet metal in the way, huh? Oh, you can't even see. I can't see. This is one of those projects where you just know. I'm using the force right now. Whoa, they got that plug wire on there. They do freaking weld the spark plug wire on. Look at that. Stuck. Dang, I have to put some wrench and our pliers in there. Yeah, that's weird. The spark plug boot is stuck to the plug. There it is. All right. For this trip, I will not be needing my 100-foot extension. Taking it down to one piece. All right. Yeah, these manifolds for the dual carbs, they kind of have a shape that really hides these bolts in here, so I'm gonna have to get a stubby ratchet because that ain't gonna work. Yeah, as I was saying, imagine trying to access this bolt from the engine side, because you know this was actually body. You wouldn't be able to get in here. Man, oh man, there ain't nothing in there. Can't grab it. Try it with a wrench. Yep, there it is. Sweet. All right. So once this comes off, we'll be able to take one carburetor and manifold off. And you know, I put this car up on the lift to get on the table, and I took a peek underneath, and this isn't a built transmission. There's really nothing special going on underneath. So when he said it's a fast car, you know, I wonder. I mean, the engine could have some stuff done inside it, but if it's a stock transmission, I mean, you could only expect so much out of it, unless the transmission's bad. Maybe that's why he parked it. But I got two more of these. That's no stress. That's just a bolt in. But it's very dirty. I mean, there's a lot of grease. This doesn't look like it was a, you know, if you have a race car, it's like a toy and you maintain it. And this thing's got a lot of oil leaking out of it, a lot of dirt. Looks like a regular driver. Not something that you'd be proud to take to the track like you see so many other cars. So, I don't know. It's a free car. It's still cool. All right, that nut is off. Let's pop it out. Okay, get that rubber line out, and then voila. Oh no.
What?
Look down in there. Ew. Look in those holes. That's the intake to the engine.
Oh, wow. Why does it look like that?
Why do you think?
Acid.
Water.
Oh, water?
There's no water in an air-cooled engine. Or is there? Let me
There
look at
was.
this dipstick. No, that's clear. Ooh. Usually you'll see a bunch of funk on the dipstick. Again, it was near the beach. It did rain on this. Maybe water was just falling down and oxidizing. But that's definitely not a good sign. That is a perfect explanation as to why the engine, the piston's coming up in the cylinder, and if there's a ridge of corrosion, the piston's going crunch, crunch, crunch. I bet that's what's going on in there. So you rotate it back, the piston goes down and comes back up, crunch, 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 crunch. That's why it won't make a full rotation. The plot thickens. Let's take that other one off and see how bad it looks in there, shall we?
So there's one on each side?
Hence the term dual carburetors.
Oh.
Not D-E-U-L, but D-U-A-L. They could be dueling if they're not synced correctly.
Ooh, why do you have dual carburetors? What does it do?
Come on, baby. It's a hot rod.
So it makes it go faster?
Heck yeah.
So that's maybe why you said it goes fast, is because it has dual carburetors?
And assumingly there's larger pistons and cylinders in it as well. So it's like breathing through a straw versus breathing with your mouth wide open. So it's just like the engine can only go that fast with a small car, but then you're just like...
Got it.
And then it blows up. That's the true story.
That's a lot of sound effects.
Yes, if it's not limited, the engine potentially will just spin out of control and fly apart. It happens all the time in racing. It's awesome. This engine ain't spinning nowhere today. Where's my 30-foot extension? It's time. Stick some nitromethane down in this baby. Get that RPM up. All right. My hands will be up in the ceiling for a little bit while I do this. Come on. All right, let's see if it comes out. I gotta cut that fuel line too. What do we got? It's not supposed to be stick like that. Just a word of experience. The carburetor's not supposed to be like that. Let me get my light. The oil looks decent, so it could have just been getting drips down through, you know, wetting the air filters and falling in. But if the intake valve was open, then the water's going in the piston. Nobody likes water in the piston. You can do a survey of 10 million people and ask if they like water in their piston. Everyone will say no. Huh. So the hardware's off. Oh, there it goes. Oh. Ooh, both sides. Not so much on that one, but oh, Lord.
What? What's in there?
Jimmy Hoffa. No. No.
$1 million.
Just a little oxidation, a little condensation. All the things that aren't supposed to be inside an engine. Here we are. So, we got our emergency brake, we got our shifter, and all that has to come apart. With these, you just get this boot off. This thing is trash, like so many of them are. Brakes still work, though.
Huh.
So these little nuts here are what these cables pull a lever that puts the emergency brake on. You raise that up, it's kind of like a bicycle. It pulls, puts the brakes on. We got to take those off because they go through the tunnel that we're going to cut out. They're usually 10 millimeters. You loosen that lock nut, pop them right off. Because running through this tunnel, that's why they call it a tunnel, like the tunnel buggy we did, is the accelerator cable, the shifter rod, the clutch cable, the shifter, the emergency brake.
There's so many words.
The fuel line. The brake line runs right along, parallel on this side. That's got to come off. I will begin. That's a 12, right? No, we're 10. Let's try 11. This is for the rear brakes. Of course, that ain't gonna work. There it is. So that's got to come out. Basically, anything from the front to the back got to come out. There's this little access port right here. This is the shift rod coupler. You just kind of take that. That's a square nut. They're pretty unique. There it is. So this is the little rubber coupler to give the shifter just a little bit of, see how it's got a little shimmy in there? So it I imagine this has a little bit of cushion. I don't know, but pretty much I jam that down at the third gear, shake it, disengage it.
Ah.
Brake line is coming off. You could see the clutch cable goes up to the transmission. I'm going to hit that quick with some WD-40 while we're working here, because that looks kind of crusty as well. Hit that throttle cable too. That's this big wing nut right here.
What is the WD-40 for?
Lubrication. In a word. Right, it's going to take this and move it over here.
Very proud of yourself, aren't you?
Oh, I've only taken apart 500,000 of these things in my life, so you can see there's really no exploration here. You got two 13 millimeters on the shift-em-a-bobber. You can see it's custom because they hand spray painted both the seat belt. That's how you know it's a fast car, because it's red. Nothing, I mean, Ferrari, red, right? A lot of Porsche, red. Mm-hmm. This car, you could see, was fast.
Corvette.
Little red Corvette. It is much too fast. All right, let's kind of get that out. So, I'm taking the shifter off because not only is the shift rod going to get removed, but the whole shifter is going to get raised up because the transmission will raise up. So the emergency brake is going to be either deleted or radically modified. The shifter will be 6 inches higher. The shifter will be up here now because the rod will be above. It's like a whole thing that's going on. I mean, you can see
I'm excited to see it unfold because I have no idea.
So this shifter rod, the little dealy here, is a little ball that goes in a socket. That's what makes it shift. So right now we're going to take the shifter rod and just slide it forward. That's how it comes out of the car. It slides right out the front of the car. So I'm just going to push it with, ooh, I just got stabbed.
Are you okay?
Took out a kidney.
Oh no.
I think I'm all right, doctor. I mean, nurse.
We got a first aid kit.
All right, so that's that. Next, we're going to yank the emergency brake cables out, and I'll get that clutch disengaged. That's this one here. As I mentioned, it's a big wing nut, so it just spins with your thumbs to loosen up. It's a very fine thread, so it's going to take a minute. My very first car, someone had cut a little window in the package tray that I removed so you can get to this. And man, I cut myself so bad. It was one of the worst injuries in my younger years. Ooh. Every time I do this, I think about that. In the back of that car, and it was gory. I said it's a fine thread. So this is called the Bowden tube. Yank that out of the transmission, and there you go. We'll just leave that free. I'm going to have to pull that pedal cluster and get that out of the way, but that's not our problem at the moment. Our problem at the moment is getting these emergency brake cables off. Let's see how that goes. Runs through this flex line right here, up through this area here. They seem to be giving me a little fuss. Let's see if we can get that to go. You gotta kind of drop them down so that they'll fall into that little, there's a metal tube that they ride in, but me take this. I'll take this right out. Get a hammer. There's a little circlip, like a little O-ring thing. I'll show you how this holds in, but I found if you just hit it with a hammer, well, maybe not. I found that if you just take a little screwdriver, then it comes apart. These little O-ring clips are a little fussy because a lot of O-rings will have like a little hole that you can grab onto it with a tool. But these guys are just little rings sitting there. If I can successfully take it off, I'll explain. Sometimes you can hit them with a hammer and they pop right out, but this one seems to be fussy. Try that. I'm sure the German mechanics had a tool to do this, but here I am with a screwdriver trying to make the best of it. I say, I haven't had this much issue before. Okay, there's the end of it. Is that camera picking up this? There's a little ring in there. Let me try to get this side. Yeah, you wouldn't think you need to secure that thing that good, but here we are. See it up, see it just expanded. See how it rises up?
Mm-hmm.
Can't see it's there. Okay, so there's the end of it right there. Talk about a pain. All right, derailed. Well, the emergency brake has to rise up, as I mentioned, or delete, so I'm not even going to mess with those clips. I'm going in. How you like that, brake? Causing me stress. About to meet the reciprocating saw. Hooked on the heater side, this car ain't gonna have no heat. So again, for everyone sending those donations, thanks for the blades. We really use them. Curses. Curse. It's all coming apart.
Wow.
Yeah, I told Jamie it's not going to be a stressful day. I'm just going to work right through this. Oh, look. Emergency brake came off. As I was saying, we're going to take these two little cables in a very organized fashion and let them slide through their tubes all the way out the car. See that? That was a 30-second procedure that took an hour and a half. Par for the course. We yank it from back here. So yeah, you see that cable goes into the brake drum. It pulls on some stuff in there that stops the car. All right, how you feeling? Getting excited?
I am hopping out of my boots right now.
I knew it. You're going to be even more thrilled when we take the pedal assembly out. I mean, The suspense is palpable. I'm talking about a 19 millimeter wrench. We're just going to get in there and remove that thing. We're 17 and 19. They're friends. They go hand in hand all over this car. You get into the 13, the 15. I mean, a 10 millimeter, that'll get you. So in here, I'll explain this later. But there's 2 bolts. And you know what? It's not 19. See, I come prepared. It's 17 up here. And once I take this out, I'll be able to explain it. But doing this in the car, on the ground, it's exciting, especially on a hot day when the seat's in the car.
And when there's snakes going all around our yard into our house.
Yeah, we had a snake in the house today, and our blue, Mr. Security, what was he doing?
Just kind of woofing quietly and pacing back and forth.
Good thing he didn't go for the nope rope. Fortunately, it wasn't a rattlesnake. It was a California king snake.
And the snake fence didn't work. There was a breach.
Yeah, we installed like a very small gauge, like 3/4 inch open, 2 foot tall perimeter fence around the house it did definitely slow down the rodents. Either that and the bobcat slowed down the rodents, but there was a snake in the house this afternoon. True story of the desert.
I called Ian on the telephone after I let the cat or the dogs in the house. But I figured it wasn't a rattler because I knew it would have been making noise.
They make some noise.
So Ian wrangled the snake.
Yeah, just put it outside because we want king snakes.
Yeah.
The rattlesnakes, we're going to send them elsewhere in the desert, but kings, heck yeah, hang out, fella. Or lady, or whatever. Snake.
It was a big snake.
Yeah, they're about 2.5, 3 feet long. They're big. Putting a clutch cable on one of these is really fun too. If you haven't done it, I suggest you try it sometime. Talk about excitement. You have to hook the clutch cable on this little hook and keep it engaged while you put this whole thing back in place with the little brake presser rod thing and the throttle cable all hooked up together. And it's exciting.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Especially on a hot day when you're in a bad mood. It's a time. All right, now that my patience is wearing thin, I will install short extension on a 17 millimeter. Make quick work of this. Ah, told you it'd be quick work. So now as I yank this out, I say yank with a capital Y. Oh, come on, don't fuss with me. Clutch gotta go that way. There it is. Accelerator cable comes off. All right. So this is the assembly. That's your go pedal. That makes you go. That's your no pedal. That little thing pushes like we experienced with Persephone. The brake push rod. And that's your clutch. It goes on that little hook right there. Very archaic go-kart styled controls. Really simple. I love it. Modern cars with all their electronics, this literally has a cable right in here. Let me get my fingers nice and greasy. Let me push it forward a little bit. Where is it? So, come on. Aha. They did some maintenance. It is nice and greasy. That's good. As it should be. This goes all the way from your clutch pedal to, it's giving me trouble. What else is new? Okay. Get that tube out of the way. What was I saying? Goes from the pedal to the clutch lever. The lever that pushes the clutch throw out bearing. That's nice and greasy. I'm going to tie this in a knot. I'll save that for later. You may want to wear rubber gloves if you're trying this at home. All right, so what we got, last thing, let's see. There are 2 heater cable tubes that I cut off because we're not running heat in this. That's what these things are on the engine back here. This blows warm air into the car. And there's a little cable that activates those, but that's going to get cut out and deleted, so I'm not even worried about pulling them out. The last thing is the throttle cable, which is back here, and this is the linkage for the dual carburetors. The other cable pulls this, rotates, makes the carburetors go faster. So this is just a simple nut right here. Take that off. Voila. Linkage will come out. And we're going to push that tube back inside and pull that out the front of the car. Again, this one goes in a tube. They got some kind of plastic on this one. That's weird. Clearly a racing application. I would think this plastic would make it run stiffer than it should, but that's a first for me. These are usually bare metal. This one has a sleeve around it. Huh. Learn something new every day. Never seen that one before. So, yeah, like we're really getting somewhere.
So with every custom that you do, when you get a shell like this, do you want to try to keep, like how you had like the brake assembly and all that stuff, keep that stuff so that you can put it back in once you've modified the car?
Yeah, one thing I've always done, and Gene Winfield surprisingly has the same approach. If you're doing multiple projects, you see how sometimes my table gets so cluttered, etc. Gene was just like, no, everything. Every piece stays in the car. Every piece of sheet metal, every nut, bolt. If you can, put it back into its little holder, even if it's not attaching anything. Because, yeah, if you're doing multiple projects, stuff gets strewn everywhere.
Well,
spent all morning cleaning
that's
the
what I
shop.
was trying, that's what I was getting at, was just keeping all the pieces together so then you kind of put it back together after
Exactly.
you modify
I
it.
usually like the trunk here is going to become a collector, but for now, everything gets tossed in a pile. Nothing hits the floor. That's the rule. If it hits the floor, like that wing nut, let me grab that.
Goes back in the car.
Yeah. I'm going to actually screw it onto the clutch cable so it stays with. I've said it before, I have no like formal training in collision repair, body work, anything like that, but I worked with Rich Evans at Huntington Beach Body Works, and he made that statement clear to me. He's like, nothing touches the floor. If you're working on a project, everything stays, it's either bagged and tagged, Ziploc baggies with labels, or major components put in a bin or stored together. Because you got 5 cars in rotation, stuff gets mixed up. Ask me how I know. Putting Cadillac bumpers on a Ford Corvette. It gets crazy out there. I digress. So this is pretty much ready for cutting at this point, but if we cut, then things are going to get real weird. I took out the main support. There's 2 areas here that are structural that supported this body. And now if you look at the back of the car, the only thing holding it together is this roof arch and the fender structure. So look at the back here. See, the whole back of the car is just hanging. It's not very attached, and the rust factor complicates that. So my next task is to create some bracing. I think I might come right off of these bumper brackets, because you can see this one's not doing a heck of a lot. That was a good weld. Yeah. I love these. Jamie loves these.
They're super neat.
Yeah, I think
they're very like spaceshipy.
Big piece of, has anybody seen this? They look homemade, because the standard Nerf bars you see are a piece of round rod. This has got big old hex bar.
Yeah, they're very
chromed
cool.
Front and back. Like, that's heavy metal. Anyway, I'm thinking about maybe coming back here from the body mounts with a little landing point so that this sheet metal stays. See, it's all flexible. I'm going to try to make a brace for that. I'm going to get under and just cut this exhaust out I'm gonna start to cut the sheet metal from around the engine and then come up with a plan. What I'm gonna have to do is brace everything as it's sitting, because I want to keep all the mechanical stuff intact, so when I raise it, I know where the parameters of the actual engine are. Some kind of a table or something, maybe with a hydraulic jack. So when I cut it, it stays flat. Boom. Bring it up on a 6-inch riser. Make all the necessary arrangements with the tubes inside the body, whatnot, and then weld it back together. So for now, this disassembly is there. I love this table because instead of crawling around on the floor, all these little cross braces come out. There's a couple that stay, but see, now instead of crawling on the floor, I can get under the table, I can reach in, reach through, and really get some things done. So I'm excited.
I am too.
See you next time.